Have you ever wondered what happens when a life, seemingly stuck in the darkest of places, collides with a world of unimaginable wealth? What if a simple invitation to a wedding turned everything upside down? This is the story of Lily, a homeless woman, and Adrian, a man whose life is perfect on the outside but hollow on the inside. He invites Lily, a woman he barely knows, to his ex-fiancee's wedding. And what happens next will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about fate, love, and second chances. Hold tight, because this story is about to take an unexpected twist that no one saw coming. Lily sat huddled under a tattered blanket in the doorway of a small convenience store. The cold night air bit at her skin, and the faint light from the nearby street lamp barely illuminated the alleyway. The world had long forgotten about people like her, the ones who lived in the shadows, invisible to the bustling city that never stopped, the city that didn't care. As she shivered, clutching the blanket tighter around her frail body, a sleek black car pulled up to the curb. It was unusual for cars to stop here, especially ones that looked so out of place in a neighborhood like this. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out. His suit was sharp, his hair perfectly combed, and his shoes, polished to a mirror's shine, tapped softly on the pavement. He looked down at Lily, sitting in the doorway, her face drawn and tired. For a moment, he hesitated, unsure of what to do. But then, with a quiet determination, he walked toward her. "Hey!" he said, his voice gentle yet firm, as though trying to offer something real in a world that felt anything but. "Are you all right?" Lily looked up at him, surprised. Most people didn't bother to speak to her, let alone offer help. She had gotten used to being ignored. But this man, with his expensive clothes and kind eyes, seemed different. "I'm fine," she replied, her voice shaky from the cold, "just waiting for the night to pass." The man stood there for a moment, unsure of what to say next. But then he extended his hand to her, as if offering a lifeline. "I'm Adrian," he said. "I know this might sound strange, but would you like to come to a wedding with me tomorrow?" Lily blinked, taken aback. "A wedding? Why would you invite me?" Adrian smiled, but there was a sadness in his eyes. "It's my ex-fiancee's wedding. I know it sounds weird, but I've been invited. I don't want to go alone. I thought maybe you'd come. I mean, why not? It could be a fresh change for you." Lily stared at him, unsure whether this was some kind of joke. He seemed sincere, but how could a man like him, with his tailored suit and polished shoes, understand what her life was like? She was nothing but a shadow in this city, a woman who had no place at a fancy wedding. But something in his eyes told her he wasn't trying to pity her. He just wanted her company, for reasons she couldn't quite understand. After a long pause, she finally said, "Okay, I'll go." Adrian nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "I'll pick you up tomorrow. I'll make sure you're comfortable. Don't worry about anything." And with that, he turned and left, leaving Lily to wonder what had just happened. She was going to a wedding. It felt unreal, like a dream. But in the back of her mind, doubts crept in. This could end badly, she thought. But she didn't care anymore. For the first time in a long while, someone had shown her kindness. She would take it. The next day, Lily found herself standing in front of a mirror in a small thrift store, nervously adjusting the second-hand dress she had bought. It was simple, nothing fancy, but it was the best she could afford. She had no idea what kind of wedding it would be, but she knew it would be a world away from the grim streets she had been walking for so long. When Adrian arrived, she was taken aback by how different he looked. His suit impeccably pressed, his hair neatly combed. He looked like a man who belonged to a different world entirely. "You look beautiful," he said, his eyes softening when he saw her. "You didn't have to, but I'm glad you did." Lily blushed, unsure what to say. "Thanks," she mumbled, suddenly feeling out of place. The dress, the makeup, the entire experience felt so foreign. She had never been to a wedding. In fact, she had never been to many places that didn't involve the harsh reality of survival. As they drove through the city, the sights changed. The streets became wider, cleaner, the buildings taller and more elegant. Lily looked out the window, feeling a knot tighten in her stomach. She didn't belong here. She had never belonged to a world like this. But Adrian didn't seem to notice her discomfort. He continued to talk, telling her stories about his life, his business, and the wedding. He spoke with a warmth that made her feel like she mattered, if only for a moment. When they arrived at the venue, Lily was left speechless. The grand estate stood before her, surrounded by manicured lawns and fountains that sparkled in the sunlight. It was nothing like the run-down places she was used to. It was like stepping into a different reality altogether. Adrian led her inside, and as they walked through the massive doors, she felt all eyes turned to her. The guests were dressed in gowns and tuxedos, their laughter filling the air. And then there was her, dressed in a second-hand dress, clutching her purse like a lifeline. She felt out of place, like a fish out of water, drowning in a sea of wealth and beauty. But Adrian stayed by her side, introducing her to a few people, making sure she didn't feel completely alone. Still, the whispers started. She could hear the subtle murmurs as people noticed her, noticed the homeless woman among them. It was like being on display, a specimen in a glass jar. But she held her head high, determined not to let them see her discomfort. And then the bride appeared. The ceremony began, and Lily, still standing at the back of the room, watched as the bride walked down the aisle. Emily, Adrian's ex-fiancée, was radiant in her wedding dress. Her smile so bright it seemed to light up the entire room. But as Emily walked closer to Adrian, something unexpected happened. For a brief moment, their eyes met, Adrian's and Emily's, and Lily saw it. It wasn't just a look of two ex-lovers seeing each other again. It was something deeper, something unfinished. As Emily reached the altar, she paused. There was a tension in the air, and Lily felt it too. "I can't do this," Emily said, her voice breaking as she looked at Adrian. "I thought I was ready, but I can't marry him. Not when I still love you." The room fell silent. Lily's heart skipped a beat. This wasn't supposed to happen. The wedding was supposed to go as planned, and she wasn't supposed to be a part of any of this drama. But here she was, standing in the midst of a heart-wrenching confession. Adrian took a step toward Emily, his face a mix of confusion and disbelief. "Emily, what are you saying?" "I'm sorry," Emily whispered, her voice trembling. "I thought I could move on, but I never stopped loving you, and I can't marry him." Adrian looked at Lily, as if trying to make sense of it all. And Lily, feeling like an outsider, wasn't sure how to react. She didn't belong in this world, not in this moment. As the room waited in tense silence, Adrian turned to Lily, his gaze softening. "I never expected this," he said quietly. "But what Emily just said, it's complicated. I invited you here today because I wanted to show you that there's more to life than what we see on the surface. But now, I realize maybe it's time to stop running from the truth." Lily's heart pounded in her chest. Adrian had invited her into a world she could never understand. But now, the walls between them seemed to be crumbling. The emotions, the past, everything was unfolding in front of her. "I don't know what's going to happen," Adrian continued, "but I know I need to figure things out. And you deserve more than just surviving." Emily, standing at the altar, nodded slowly. "I think we all deserve more. But what happens next? I'm not sure." Lily took a deep breath, her emotions a mix of confusion and clarity. She had come here as an outsider, but she realized now that she was part of something much bigger, a story of love, second chances, and the search for happiness. As the dust settled and the guests murmured among themselves, Adrian turned to Lily, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I don't know what the future holds, but I do know one thing," he said, his voice steady but filled with emotion. "You don't have to live in the shadows anymore. You have worth, and I want to help you find your place in this world. If you'll allow me." Lily felt a lump in her throat, the words he spoke cutting through the uncertainty that had always clouded her mind. Could it be that something truly meaningful had come from all of this? From a simple invitation to a wedding? She had never imagined that a man like Adrian, with all his wealth and status, would care enough to offer her a chance at something more than mere survival. For a moment, there was a silence between them. The weight of the moment, the weight of their shared experience, settled like a heavy fog in a room. Lily had been used to being invisible, to being the person that everyone avoided or ignored. Yet, in this instant, she was seen. She was heard. And in a strange way, she felt as though she had been given the most precious gift of all, the opportunity to rewrite her own story. Adrian stepped closer, his gaze never leaving hers. "I'm not asking for anything from you, Lily," he continued, his voice almost a whisper now. "I just want you to know that your past doesn't define you. You have the power to change your future, and I'll be here, if you'll let me, to help you every step of the way." Lily swallowed hard, feeling her heart race in her chest. Her life had been full of hardships, of constant struggle, and of moments where she had doubted whether she would ever escape the grip of her circumstances. But Adrian's words, his quiet promise, made her believe that maybe, just maybe, there was more to life than the cold streets she had known for so long. For the first time, she allowed herself to hope. She wasn't just a homeless woman. She was a person worthy of love, worthy of kindness, and worthy of a future that was no longer defined by her past. Lily began, her voice shaky but resolute. "I don't know where this will lead, Adrian, but I think you're right. I think I've been stuck in the shadows for too long. Maybe it's time for me to step into the light." A faint, relieved smile tugged at the corner of Adrian's lips. He reached out and gently took her hand, his touch warm and reassuring. "Whatever happens next, we take it one step at a time." As the chaos of the wedding swirled around them, Lily realized that this moment, this strange twist of fate, was the beginning of something new. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. It was no longer going to be defined by the darkness she had once lived in. In that moment, as Adrian led her away from the wedding and into a new chapter of her life, she couldn't help but feel a deep sense of gratitude for the kindness that had been shown to her, the kindness that had started with a simple invitation. As Lily walked away from that grand estate, her mind was still processing everything that had just happened. The wedding, the confession, the unexpected invitation to the strange world of wealth and complexity. All felt surreal. But as the cool evening air brushed against her face, she realized that her life had just taken a dramatic turn. Adrian had invited her to his ex-fiancée's wedding, and she had arrived as a stranger to a world she could barely comprehend. But what she didn't know, what none of them had expected, was that the true wedding was happening in that very moment. It wasn't between Adrian and Emily. It was between Lily and a future she had never dared to dream of. She wasn't just a homeless woman anymore. She was someone with a story, with a chance at something better. And as Adrian continued to walk beside her, offering his support and friendship, she realized that kindness was the bridge between the shadows and the light. This wasn't just a story about a rich man inviting a homeless woman to a wedding. It was about the power of compassion, of second chances, and of extraordinary things that can happen when we least expect them. Sometimes the most unlikely invitations lead to the most life-changing journeys. If you've ever felt like you're stuck in a situation with no way out, remember Lily's story. There's always a way forward, no matter how dark it may seem. Share this video with someone who needs a reminder that kindness can change lives. Leave a comment below about a time when someone showed you unexpected kindness. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartwarming and inspiring stories.